Hello and welcome to my Hygge Crow. My name is Christina. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm coming to you from Sacramento, California. I am filming what month is it now? May? March and April knitting podcast. I just have fallen off of things have fallen off the rails in terms of filming and uploading videos. So this is a little late in coming, and so I'm combining 2 months. We're already like a week into May, so this even is a little late, but I can't do 3 months in one podcast. It's just, that would be too much. So here I am filming today. My plan is to kind of upload this with minimal editing, if any at all. So links and stuff like that will be in the description. I might just direct you to my Ravelry page where all of my projects are listed out, depending on how much time I have to upload this. So apologies in advance if you really love to see like the names of things pop up on the screen. I am going to try to say all of them verbally, but the information will also be in the description. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So my, what I'm wearing today is the Growing cardigan, short version, by Hygge and, or no, yeah, it's Hygge. Lona Yeldson is the pattern designer. And it is knit in one strand of Swan's Island Natural Colors fingering collection in the color Sky Blue, and one strand of Drops Kid Silk in white or off-white or something. I have no idea what it was. Don't have the ball band anymore, so yeah. And yeah, I feel like I'm wearing my most cottagecore outfit. It is like, I think it's just a vintage nightgown that I found at like a buy-sell trade store by me, although I feel like you could definitely sew something like this. But my sewing skills are average at best, so I just thrifted it. March knitting. I'll start in March with finished objects. This, I think I've shown in 2 of my kind of podcasty episodes so far. It is the Sophie shawl by Petite Knit, and I am knitting it, or I finished it. I finished this like kind of right after I filmed my February knitting podcast. This was done in very early March. And it is knit using Drops Alpaca Boucle in the color, I want to say beige, mixed beige, something like that. Again, it'll be in the description or in my Ravelry projects page. And then it Drops Soft Tweed in the color Marzipan. So I held one strand of each together, and it created this substantial but kind of fuzzy fabric. And I like followed the instructions for the Sophie scarf or shawl, except for I didn't really pay attention to how far I increased. I just increased until I was halfway done with one of my yarns. I think the Drops Soft Tweed kind of ran out before the boucle, so I knit till I had about half of that remaining, a little more than half, because I've flown too close to the sun with Sophie's scarves in the past, and I didn't want to do that with a much bigger shawl. And then I just started my decreases. So it is a lovely and thick scarf. I haven't had much opportunity to wear it, although I did take it, we were in Canada in April and it was snowing. So I did take it on a trip up there, and we've had like 1 or 2 cold days here in Sacramento that I have worn it. But yeah, it's, to me, this is really more of a scarf than a shawl. I guess it is still a shawl because it tapers at the ends, but I think it's really great for tying, just because when you have like a square or a rectangular scarf, the knot can sometimes feel really bulky to me. So with this one, it's great because like I can even wrap it one more time and tie it, and the knot is just smaller. And I really like that. I'm in definitely like a shawl curious phase of knitting right now, as you'll be able to see when I talk about some of my works in progress. But I knit a shawl for my mom, kind of in a similar shape to this a little bit. She wears it like a scarf rather than like a shawl. I think of that as like a shawl. I think of wearing it behind the back. So when I say wear it like a shawl, that's what I mean, even though I know there's lots of different ways you can wear a shawl. But yeah, I think it looks cute even worn in that kind of like classic shawl fashion. What was I saying about this? Just that I like how it turned out. The one thing that I am a little iffy on is I do wish the 2 colors of the yarn had been closer together. The drops, I had the drops alpaca boucle. I bought it for this project, but my plan was originally to hold it double, and I did not enjoy the knitting of boucle like that. I wanted to have, after knitting a few rows, I decided I wanted to have like a base yarn and then the boucle just to add fluff. And so I bought the Drops Soft Tweed thinking that it would be like a good color match, and it just, I should have gotten a darker, like beigeier color, because there's a very clear marl, which I'm not really like, it doesn't bother me that much, but in my head I was envisioning that this kind of just like looked like a fuzzy scarf, not like a fuzzy marled scarf, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the one thing that I'm like, I wish it was a little different, but this was not a difficult pattern to knit up, so there might be more Sophie scarves in my future. Fuzzy and maybe not so fuzzy, who knows. So yes, that was my first finished object in March. Yes. Remembering the months is really hard. Next, I finished this hat. It is the Manhattan Hat Bulky by Tori Yu, and the yarn I used, I believe, is discontinued. It is Brown Sheep Co. So it's a Lamb's Pride Brown Sheep Co. And it was like the bulky weight or something. So I know the Manhattan Hat is super popular right now. This is the bulky version. It's kind of like a long tube that is done in ribbing, and then there's like the crown decreases at the top are kind of like the interesting part, at least I think, of the pattern, and then you fold up the brim and you can make it even longer to do a double fold, but with bulky weight yarn it will be rare, I think, that I would even need the double folded in terms of like heat retention. Yeah, maybe if I was making one of the lighter weight ones. A double folded hem would be, hem? Is it a hem of a hat? Brim. That's what I'm looking for. Would be more reasonable, I guess. The bulky weight just would add so much. So many layers there. So I actually haven't blocked this. It's been done for over a month and I just wove in the ends. I don't know. I finished it. So I had a little issue, which was that I did, when I did the tubular cast on, I was 2 stitches short, and I'm not like super good at a tubular cast on yet. I'm sure I'll get there, but I just really didn't want to redo it. So I thought, oh, no big deal. I'll just, like, when I start the crown decreases, I just won't do like decreases on one of the sides first. But because of this interesting shaping at the top, that did not work out for me at all. I did the whole top bit and then like they have you do a 3 needle bind off at the top for this like flat part, and it looked so wonky and messed up just because of the ribbing and like the way the stitches are all divided. And so I ripped it back, and instead of doing that, I just like, I made, I don't even know if I could describe what I did, but I decreased before I started the crown shaping, just to get the right kind of amounts of stitches in the right places. I'm not sure if I wrote even notes down in Ravelry. I just kind of did it. This was my car knitting project, so it was supposed to be super chill. And then it was giving me all this trouble at the end. And then, so even with that, I did the 3 needle bind off at the top, and everything is lined up how it should be. And it looks like, I don't know, bad, in my opinion. Like, it looks really not seamless. And at that point, I was just kind of done. And you know, the hat's completely functional. It's just, I have this little like perfection streak in me, a perfectionist streak that does not like the finishing on the top of this hat. And so I had looked up how to do like a Kitchener stitch in ribbing, and had done that originally when I first bound off the hat, but because the stitches weren't lined up right, it didn't look good. And then I didn't do it again when I redid the crown shaping, because I thought, oh, the stitches are lined up now, it should be seamless, and it just wasn't. So anyways, all that to say, if I were to knit this again, I would, first of all, cast on the right number of stitches, and second of all, I would maybe try to do that Kitchener's stitch in ribbed ribbed Kitchener closure at the top to try to get a more seamless effect. But it does fit. It's a little snug, which again makes me wish that I had just ripped out the cast on and made it the right number, because then it would just have a little bit more give. I have a feeling it's going to push my glasses into my head and be uncomfortable for me. So this might not end up being my hat, but we'll see. I'll block it out and see if that makes a difference. So yeah, that was a long tangent, I feel like, about that hat, but it's done. So my next finished object was my Farmer's Daughter Fiber sock squad knitting project. So March's yarn, I think I showed it in my last podcast, but it was called Grandma's Hands, and the base on this one is Highwood sock. And this is what it looks like. And it knit up into this beautiful, oh, if you want to see the inspiration, this is the inspiration. Yeah, it knit up into this beautiful bonnet. This is the Lindern bonnet by Guri Peterson. And I want to say I knit the size 18 months. This does have an intended recipient that is not Elliot. I'm kind of doing like bonnet gifts for all the babies that have been arriving in the last year and are coming in the future. And yeah, this pattern was super cool. I think I heard about it on the Young Folk Knits podcast. I think Casey did an episode about what she'd knit for her kids or something, and this one was one of the ones she mentioned, and I thought that's really cool. I don't knit a ton of lace. I just haven't in the past. I don't know why, because I don't really find it intimidating, but I do find that because I don't have a lot of experience, it is difficult for me to read my knitting, which means I'm always having to reference back to a chart, which annoys me. So I usually work on lace projects a little bit less because I'm annoyed. But there's another interesting thing about this bonnet pattern. If you knit a lot of bonnets, most, especially that are constructed in this way, are cast on at the brim and knit down to the crown and decreased. This one started at the crown, increased, and then this lace work started, and then the picot edge was knit at the very end. I messed up this pattern quite a lot. The other thing that I'm not great at with lace patterns is I have a really hard time like ribbing back and like keeping all of the holes and stuff where they should be. So I messed this up quite a few times and did not want to rip back because I was worried that I would lose, make it worse. And I never put in lifelines. I've never put in a lifeline in my entire life, which is probably just stupid. But I'm like, when I'm knitting, and I don't want to like stop and be, I don't know, lifelining. But yeah, I will show you kind of the most egregious mess up of the lace was right here at the like top of the bonnet. So yeah, it's not great. I don't know if you can kind of see what's going on there, but it's a little, it didn't work out. But when you're just looking at it from afar, you really, at least I really can't tell. And again, that might just be my inexperience with lace that causes that. But I don't think any less of this bonnet because I messed up the lace. I'm really proud of the finishing I did on this picot edge. I did what's it called? Top over top knit or like sewn hem on it. Yeah, I was just really proud of that finishing. I finished this project when I was in Canada, and it called for you to go down a needle size when you did the picot edging, and I didn't have the right needle size. I had forgotten to pack it, and so I just went ahead with the same needle size, and it definitely does kind of like billow out a little bit, which is fine. It's a fine look, but I do wish I'd had the right needle size to kind of just tighten in the picot edge. But yeah, that's that pattern. And then the next finished object I have was just my next bonnet that I made with my sock squad yarn. So this was April's sock squad yarn, and it is called From the Mouths of Babes. It's a really like light pink with small speckles of black and a few small speckles of like fuchsia and like a peachy orange. And when I saw it, I was kind of surprised at how similar the two yarns were back in back-to-back months. But I just thought that this one needed to be a lacy bonnet as well. And apparently messing up the lace so bad did not deter me from casting on another lacy bonnet. And this one is the Josephine's Summer Bonnet by Tina Kraken. This one is one that I have knit before. I knit it for a friend's baby in the newborn size, and it was tiny, like doll sized, which I guess newborns are doll sized, but it wasn't even like doll sized. It was like toy, like stuffed animal size. So I was really disappointed with that the last time I made it, and so I sized up significantly for this one. I'm making it for a baby who is currently like a month, 2 months old, and I think I knit a size, I want to say maybe like 6 to 9 months. And this one did not have the same tiny size problem. It's like I tried it on Elliot and like it's small. Elliot's 15 months old. It's small, but like it can still go on her head. So that's really fine because this baby lives in Sacramento, and at this point in the season there's like maybe 3 bonnet days left until it starts getting cold for fall in like November here. So this should fit, I think, nicely even when it comes to fall. The colors are more springy, so that's a little disappointing, but I'm sure there will be occasions in which this bonnet can be worn by the intended recipient. Another thing I wanted to, it was interesting doing 2 really similar patterns back to back. This one, as I mentioned before, it is cast on at the brim and knit to the crown, and then this one was crown to brim. One of the cool things about doing a crown to brim style bonnet is that the I-cords were knit along with the hat. And then at the end you like put the 3 stitches on stitch holders and did the picot edging and bind off, and then you just picked up and continued with the I-cords. Whereas on bonnets like that you cast on at the brim, you don't usually work I-cord, and then at the end you have to like do an applied I-cord. I don't think it's applied, I think it's, yeah, I don't know what it's called, but you add the I-cord in at the end, and it just, you have more ends to weave in. So in the future I might convert patterns like this to be knit from the crown to the brim, as long as it wouldn't really impact how the lace looks. I just think I prefer going in that direction, and it gives a nice, I don't know, I think I just preferred it in general. So I'm not sure if I've given you a close-up of this one. Definitely messed up the lace in this one as well. One of the, so the pattern is like these kind of diamondy shapes, and when it stretches they look more like circles. But one row of them, I definitely just cut out 2 whole rows of the chart. So luckily they look fine. They're just like much smaller little diamonds. I don't know if you can tell which row in there is messed up, but again, from afar, it looks totally fine. So 2 more bonnets for my little bonnet knitting extravaganza that is 2024. All right, that is all my finished objects. So I'm going to move on to works in progress. I will start with one that I believe is just like a fully new cast on. I'm like fully blanking on what this scarf is called, but maybe it will come to me. But yeah, it's just this kind of beautiful scarf. I'm knitting it in a strand of Cascade 220 Superwash in the color Tuffet. And then this is Drops Brushed Alpaca. I believe the color is light beige. And yeah, just holding one of each strand together. This was left over I had from something that I knit for Elliot, and this is left over from, I accidentally overbought for another pattern that I was knitting for Elliot. So yeah, just had these and thought this will make a great blank scarf. It's just been fully removed from my brain. So this is the front of it. It's this cool textured stitch that you do by, I think it's called like a puff stitch, and you drop below and pull yarn up from the back, and it's cool. So this is the back of it. It's not super pretty, so you kind of have to, like, when you wear it, you arrange it facing out, not reversible like a Sophie scarf. But this is my new car knitting project. I wasn't expecting it to be so easily memorizable, just because, I don't know, it looks kind of fancy, but I really have no problem like putting this down and picking it back up and kind of knowing exactly what I need to do next. So this one is, for the most part, living in my car and goes with me to appointments. Yeah, the edging on it is a double knit edging, and I just think it kind of mimics an I-cord, but for some reason I just think it looks so nice and polished along the edge there. So I might play with using a double knit edge instead of an I-cord for, I don't know, stuff in the future. Really sad that I forgot the name. Oh well, moving on. This is one that I've been working on for a while. You've seen it come up many times, and it is my Pressed Flowers by Amy Christoffers. I think I put a progress keeper in the last time I showed it, and I was working on the back. I don't remember if I know I'd done one front. I don't remember if I'd done 2 fronts. And then, yeah, I was working on the back, but I have completed the fronts and the back and sewn together at the shoulders. And then I did also go in and pick up and knit the button band, because I'm not sure that I have enough of the beige yarn that I'm using. It's like a discontinued yarn, Australian heatherwood or something like that. And I'm just not sure if I have enough of it, and so I wanted to knit the button band before moving on to the rest of the body, just to kind of ensure that, because I can shorten the sleeves to be like 3/4 length or bracelet length if I need to accommodate not having enough yarn. So I'm wondering if I should put this on to kind of show. The other yarn that I'm using is Bad Sheep Yarn Company. It's the like sock base fingering weight. What's it called? Superwash Merino. Oh, it's a sport weight, sorry. And the color is Vivant. And yeah, I'm knitting the like smallest size, which normally I'm like the 2nd or 3rd size in a pattern. So I knew it would be small, but it's like 0 ease. Which is great. I don't really have a lot of like tight cardigans, I would say. And so I think it'll loosen a bit with walking because there is a lot of garter in this motif, or in the pattern. But yeah, this is what it looks like. Obviously as like a vest version, but it definitely fits. So no issue there, just a tighter fit than what I would usually knit for myself. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that'll kind of look with the drop shoulder construction, because I do think that lots of drop shoulder cardigan and sweater patterns are meant for like a little more oversized of a fit. So yeah, we'll see if I kind of have to knit the arms longer to accommodate for that. But loving it, not working on it a ton right now because I started a different mosaic knitting project that has kind of been taking priority. But I am hoping to finish this month. I think it's very reasonable to do like a sleeve and a half in a month, even with other projects going. So yeah, after this I'll move my little progress keeper and we'll see, I'll just do it right now. We'll see if I need to move it again when I show off this cardigan next time, or if it'll just be done. I hope it'll just be done. I've been working on it for over a year now, so on and off. Next up, and this was kind of more of an impromptu cast on. It is, and I've been working on it like not monogamously, but not monogamously. It is the Nightshift by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. Try to get all these stringies out of here so you can kind of get a sense of what it's going to look like. I'm doing this for Andrea Mowry's March to May knit along. Yep. I had just like a bunch of single skeins and scraps of Aran and worsted weight yarn that all kind of were in this color scheme of blue, green, gray, brown, a little bit of purple. And I just kind of had this revelation that the Nightshift would be a perfect way to use all of them in an intentional looking way, if that makes sense. So there's lots of scrappy projects that to me look like great uses of yarn, but maybe don't look extremely cohesive. But the way this mosaic pattern kind of unfurls, I think it just really worked for the colors of yarn that I had. So yeah, this was not cast on when as far as I know, when I filmed my last podcast. So all of this progress has been in March and April and now in May. Been working on it a ton. The pattern only like calls for, I think, me to have knit to this point, but I didn't. I want to wear this. The idea for me is for this to be like almost like a blanket that I keep on my work, like on my desk chair, because I'm always just putting a blanket over my shoulders. And why not just make it a shawl to do that instead? So that's the plan. And oh, that was to say that I'm knitting it bigger than what the pattern calls for, just because I tried it on when the pattern told me to stop, and it was kind of like small enough that it was like slipping off. And what I'll really want is to just be able to put it on like this and then type and have it stay in place even if I'm not clasping it. So that is the reason why I'm making it bigger than what the pattern calls for. I am in my last kind of section now of mosaic color work. I have one more ball of background color to use, and then I'll be binding it off. This was, again, I'm so pleased with how this worked out for using up my single skeins and my scraps. I did kind of have a plan that I used to order the, like, to get the most and make it look the most intentional. And essentially what I did was I gathered all the yarn that I was going to use. Some of it I didn't end up incorporating, but I put it all in my like project and Ravelry, and I have my stash all in there with like the number of yards and weight and everything that I have for each yarn, including my scraps. And I ordered them out by what I had, like least yardage to most yardage. And then for the most part from there, what I did was I just used the least yardage yarns first. So for example, this blue, this was a scrap that I had the least yardage of. So I just started with that, and I looked at my other colors and decided which colors I thought would look nice on top of on top of my background color, what would have enough contrast, and I added those in as I went. And then once I ran out of the blue, the one I had the least yardage of next was this green, and so I just started working on the green, again choosing these contrasting colors based on what I thought would look good on top of it. When I knew I was about to run out of a background color, I was intentional about choosing a contrast color that would look good against the color I was currently using and what the next color would be. So like for example, between this blue and the green, I decided to use this brown contrast color because I knew it would have enough contrast on both yarns. So that being said, there were some times when there were some colors that I did not use in the background at all, and I only used as contrast colors. So that was this kind of color shifting one. This is called Noro Transitions. It's a discontinued Noro yarn. I used this one as a contrast color 2 times. And then this purple one as well. This was something that I bought like halfway through making this shawl. I thrifted it for $1, and I thought, you know what, that's gonna be a really nice contrast color. I'll just use it. And then I used it again here at the most recent end. So I don't know if that helps for anyone who sees this and goes, wow, like that would be a great way to use up my scraps and my single skeins. Yeah, that's kind of how I did it. So once I got through my scraps about here, this brown was kind of a scrap. Well, I had a scrap and a single skein of it. And then I just did the next skeins based on how much yardage was in the full skein, and I kind of took into consideration if I'd used that color previously as a contrast color. I just did like a little mental math and didn't do actual math to kind of determine which yarn I still had more of, and then I would save that as a background color for later. Okay. Let me know if you have questions about that because I said a bunch of words. I don't know if they made sense. But yeah, I did kind of want to walk through my thought process on incorporating all of my yarns, just in case this sparked a idea for you to use up your single skeins and scraps. And it's going to use like a ton of yarn. I think over 500 grams of yarn. And I think all of it was thrifted or was a scrap from a project I've already completed. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that's turning out, and I'm really excited that I'll get to like submit my finished object for that knit along. Okay, last work in progress I have is this traveler shawl by Andrea Mowry. So I've just kind of cast it on. I had it as a project when we were in Canada because my other projects were a little too like big. And this one I'm just using a ball of Zauberball Crazy. Yeah, just Zauberball Crazy. This is like a sock yarn. And I want to say the color is blues or something along those lines. And I have this scrap Drops Kid Silk mohair in navy, I think. And yeah, I think I'll show them together. I think they pair really well together, and they give me more of that like sport weight gauge that this pattern calls for. And yeah, I've not been working on it since I got back from Canada. So most of this progress, oh, I think I was showing you the wrong side. Most of this progress was in April, and kind of took a back seat to working on my night shift. But yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm a little shawl curious right now. I've got 1 finished shawl and 2 on the needles, whereas before I'd never knit a shawl for myself, and all of these are intended for me. We'll see if I end up keeping them all, but loving the pattern so far. I was like briefly thinking that I could maybe knit 2 shawls for the March to May knit along. No. But I am excited to see how that knits up with the Zauberball like color change yarn style, because I haven't really knit with like barber pole type of yarn before, so excited to see what happens. Those are all my works in progress, I think. So I just have 1 acquisition from April that I wanted to share, and it's my Sock Squad yarn. So this color or colorway is called Love Letters to Finn Bell, and there's 2 50-gram skeins. One is kind of like a eucalyptus-y green with really light speckling of yellows, greens, blues. And then the other is like a parchment white color with more heavy speckling of turquoise and yellowy green. A little bit of red too. The inspiration for this yarn is this photo, and this is the yarn, which it was not the color of yarn I was expecting from this photo. This was the yarn that I was most excited about, based on the inspiration photo, and I do quite like this color. Again, not exactly what I was expecting. And I love this color, but I don't know how I feel about the speckles in it. I would have loved it if it was just like a tonal or solid of this parchment color. But here we are with speckles. So yeah, my plan for this is to knit the Flap-tastic hat. I'll knit the baby version, and I think I'll knit it for Elliot for this coming winter. Fall and winter, and I don't remember who wrote that pattern, but I'm sure you'll be hearing about it in my next podcast. I'm trying to think if I have any life updates. I am still chronically fatigued. Yeah, I don't know. No updates on that. I don't have sleep apnea, so I guess that's good. And nothing I can think of off the top of my head. Elliot is in a extreme teething stage right now, so that's so fun. And yeah, we're dealing with that. So I think, oh, I finished the series, or I haven't finished it because there's still one more coming out, but I've been reading Red Rising. I think I've talked about it before in a podcast. But if you like sci-fi, fantasy, kind of like thrillery war stuff, that's a weird category, but or even if you don't like any of those things, but you're maybe a little bit curious, I would so highly recommend that you take a look at Red Rising, the series. There's 6 books currently and a 7th coming out sometime, probably in the next couple years. And it's so good. It's so good. I've recommended it to my husband Joel, my dad, and they both have just like absolutely torn through the series, just like I have. I've read them all in less than a year. And yeah, check it out. Okay, that's all for this month, and I have a video that I just need to edit and put up, but hopefully you'll see another video from me soon, and then yeah, we'll just kind of see what happens. I'm taking this as it comes because life is busy right now. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.